Before we dive into the 5.6 update, there's a single name echoing across the entire Genshin community: Skirk. She's not just Childe's mysterious mentor, she's a living question mark wrapped in abyssal power, cosmic lore, and an origin that might rewrite what we know about Tevat. Her body is rebuilt from the abyss, her allegiance is unclear, and her purpose might be connected to the fate of the entire world despite being an outsider. Hey guys, what's up? Aru, and today we're breaking down everything you should know about Skirk before 5.7. This will include her ties to the Sinners of Khaenri'ah, the mission that she was sent on, and even some real-world astrophysics that could explain the red skies beyond Tevat and the crimson sun reflected in Skirk's eyes. Whether you're here for lore, theory, or cosmic horror fantasy, this one's for you. Now hopefully what I say is close enough to the actual lore when she's released, since I'm posting this 2 days away from the actual patch. But with that said, let's get started. Skirk is confirmed to be an outlander, meaning she originates from beyond Tevat. Unlike the Traveler or Aloy, Skirk has no vision, suggesting that she does not have power from the Archons. Her elemental powers, styled as cryo, are actually abyssal, sourced from a power known as the Seven Shifting Serpent. Now here's a bit of crack theory fun. Her pale white hair, floating posture, and even her sharp eyes draw uncanny similarities to Paimon and the Sustainer, though she might have been a celestial being who fell into the abyss, or worse, was exiled from the gods to the Dark Sea or even on another planet. While there is no evidence to confirm this, her otherworldly elegance, calm speech, and eerie visuals cues open the door for some fun speculation. After all, who better to destroy the system of Celestia than someone who came from it? You might have already seen the memes, but yes, Skirk doesn't have arms and legs. Just like how Freerin constantly suppresses her mana, Skirk regenerates her limbs constantly using abyssal energy. This process implies terrifying mastery over manipulation of form, matter, and possibly space. Her limbs are not prosthetics but dynamic extensions of abyssal power, regenerated at will, and that's only when she's in idle form. In her teaser, she's seen forming abyssal shards of glass that float and fracture space itself. She creates broken glass swords and portals to teleport and uses her powers to turn enemies into glass before shattering them into dust. Basically, her control over the abyss is on the level of gods. These abilities highlight not just her regeneration, but full environmental and spatial manipulation, not just on herself but those around her. Signs of abyssal mastery that can level an Archon, or maybe even higher. Next, Surtalogi, one of the 5 Sinners of Khaenri'ah, is her master. The brutal training under him is one possible reason Skirk lost her limbs, having been pushed to her limit to survive in the abyss. Another theory suggests that she was already found in a broken state without limbs when Surtalogi found her, implying that she was either a victim of some past cosmic disaster like in her teaser, or that Surtalogi is a psycho that made Skirk into an abyssal guinea pig, from her now void eyes to her abyss toes. Regardless of how it began, Surtalogi's influence shaped her entire combat philosophy, tied to the all-devouring narwhal and represents total abyss annihilation, which matches his title, the Foul. Skirk's techniques, marked by aggressive and constant abyssal manipulation, using all manner of weapons and glass-shattering portals, reflect his legacy, the Foul's legacy fighting arts. Her personality, cold and severe, was forged from that intense and brutal abyssal training. The reason Skirk was sent to Tevat is written everywhere in her artifact set, but at the same time her journey is already written to happen based on Vedrfolnir's prophecy, as seen in many of her drip marketing posts. According to the Deep Gallery's lore, she was tasked by Surtalogi to find the Voyager, a cosmic being who once observed civilizations and worlds destined to fall. This being, known as a Descender based on her power and will, may have chosen to remain in Tevat, becoming part of its fate system. This was the same Descender who caused the angel race to fall and become Seelies. What's interesting is when she descended to Tevat through Irminsul, she not inherently changed its laws like how Descenders would usually change the world, rather affecting it indirectly by changing the views of its dwellers, similar to how the Traveler siblings became part of Irminsul and is changing the world right now without being a Descender. Surtalogi seems to know this Voyager personally too, or at the very least understands their significance enough to entrust Skirk with locating them. This suggests a deeper, possibly long-standing connection between the Sinners and this particular Descender. Her mission, however, is not simply about finding someone and beating Surtalogi. It's actually about understanding why Tevat was marked to fall, why the Sinners resist Celestia's laws and favor the Abyss, and why this Voyager might hold the key to reshaping destiny itself. Skirk's pursuit of the Voyager ties her not just to the Abyss, but to the cosmic forces that could determine Tevat's future. Skirk also trained Tartaglia in the Abyss when he was 14 years old, after he accidentally fell into a mysterious abyssal crevice during a blizzard in Snezhnaya. Within that abyssal realm created by Skirk, she took him under her wing and taught him how to survive and master combat beyond Tevat's known laws. She introduced him techniques like the Foul Legacy transformation, warning that conventional strength would never be enough for the battle that awaited him. Her teaching style was harsh, emotionless, and direct, likely similar to the way Surtalogi taught her. Skirk claims that she only speaks to those she deems her equals and has nothing to say to the weak, but she did hold back for Childe since he couldn't regenerate limbs like she can. Still, she clearly saw potential in Childe, referring to a mysterious force that he had awakened, and saying remnants of air quotes "it" lingered on him. Before sending him back to Tevat, Skirk gave Childe a parting advice laced with cryptic wisdom. She reminded him that mastering weapons was only the beginning. To truly ascend, however, you would need to reach a state where heaven and earth become your blades and all of creation bends at your will, which was to understand and use the Foul Legacy art using the Abyss. As she cast him through the portal, her final words were, "Traverse the wreckage of the stars one day, and you will know the world as I see it," which is to see the real universe outside of Tevat's false sky. This is also likely the same words said to her by Surtalogi before being sent to Tevat. Skirk is called a Trespasser by Surtalogi, since she didn't arrive in Tevat of her own power or having a will to change the world, and thus cannot be classified as a Descender, yet. But she does have the potential to become one at some point in her journey. Descenders are beings from Tevat who possess a unique ability to exist independently of Irminsul, Tevat's tree of knowledge that records all fates and events. They're not bound by Tevat's timeline, history, or divine laws, and Descenders are said to have the will and power to reshape the world's fate, resist the influence of the gods, and potentially rival the heavenly principles themselves. The Traveler is one such entity, and Skirk, if she fulfills certain cosmic conditions, may eventually join that status. As for what the Sinners intend or prophesied for her to do when she becomes one, we'll probably find out in the future. Skirk's power source, the Seven-Shifting Serpent, is mythologically linked to serpent deities like the seven-headed serpent Naga or Ananta Shesha and the Ouroboros or Vasuki. The Seven-Shifting Serpent symbolizes cycles of transformation, elemental mimicry, and potential rebellion against a creator. In Enkanomiya, the Ouroboros appears in ancient murals and records of a cosmic serpent, which in my previous video I mentioned is the Gnostic Serpent, further supporting the symbol as a representation of eternal cycle and suppressed roots in Tevat's past and its outer universe lore. In the game, Daneslip's constellation is also called Serpent Ring and depicts a snake consuming its own tail, emphasizing his connection to the Gnostic Serpent's cyclical cosmic fate, memory, and the Abyss. This shared symbolism ties Daneslip, Skirk, and the Abyssal Power to a larger narrative of transformation and cosmic resistance outside of Tevat, which gets even weirder when we see abyssal creations like Gusoi Thoth, which means Yog-Sothoth in Cthulhu lore. Furthermore, the Seven-Shifting Serpent may represent a progression similar to the seventh phase snake-to-dragon myth in Chinese mythology, where a snake or little dragon transforms across stages: Python, Anaconda, Blood Dragon, Horned Dragon, Rain Dragon, Responding Dragon, and finally, the True Dragon. Each transformation marks the evolution of chaos into abyssal celestial power. Skirk likely represents one phase of this evolution, perhaps the early stages of a being that may eventually reach divine or dragon-like descender status, guided by abyssal power rather than powers from Tevat. Skirk claims that the Archon's Gnosis is forged from the remains of a third descender, bearing both divine authority and a curse. She warns Neuvillette about its burden regarding death and its abyss-like power. Her philosophy on life and death deepens this understanding, which we've mentioned before multiple times. Skirk believes that while life is a blessing, death twists the bonds of the living into curses. In her words, a person's attachment to Tevat becomes a manifestation of regret and anger, which we've seen in the Lantern Rite can only be removed partially through cleansing rituals, but not removed completely. This belief reinforces her views of the Gnosis as not just a divine relic, but as a vessel carrying the lingering regrets and sorrow and rage of a third descender, which we assume is Nibelung, the Dragon King, who was once the user of Tevat's original light element. From this perspective, the Gnosis and all form of life in Tevat is not just a gift of Celestia, it is actually a shackle cursed by the very being it originated from. While not Conrian by blood, Skirk is ideologically and narratively aligned with them. Her story speaks themes of rejecting fate, surviving the collapse of civilizations, and embracing forbidden power to break the chains of destiny. Skirk's long-term goal is not just to fulfill her master's mission and fight the Voyager or defeat her master, but to understand why she was sent in the first place and have an understanding of Tevat. Over time, she began to question the will behind her assignment, which may explain her growing desire to confront and ultimately defeat Surtalogi. Dainsleif in Skirk's Miscellany trailer reflects on this legacy as well. He reveals that he never believed Surtalogi was fit to be a teacher, which is very apparent. And when his brother Vedrfolnir's prophecy about Skirk came true, it only deepened his resentment towards fate. And yet Dainsleif admits that Skirk has not inherited the corrupt nature of her master, the Foul, which he finds a rare relief in a world so defined by inevitability and fate. Still, he calls this a fleeting comfort, noting that some struggle to escape their fate, while others are forced into its jaws just to survive. This duality underlines the internal conflict within Skirk herself. Her journey is not just one of rebellion or submission, but of seeking the deeper truths buried beneath celestial law and abyssal powers. It isn't a blind loyalty to the sinners that drives her, it's the pursuit of answers, identity, and meaning. She will return to Surtalogi one day, not just as an apprentice, but as someone forged by both Tevat and the Abyss, prepared to define her own fate or break it entirely, which is why she's seen in various locations across Tevat's historical and mythologically significant places, including Dragonspine and Salvandagnir, King Deshret's Pyramid and Forbidden Knowledge, Mondstad's Sword Cemetery and Conris dynasties, and the bamboo forest tied to the Moon Sisters, while the Snowy Realm could also be Hyperborea and its Seelie Curse, where she meets Alice. Not to mention seeing our drawing of the Sustainer during our first night in Mondstadt, which is just a walking distance away. Her arrival in Tevat might be the same time as us as well, since Farina hasn't lost her head and outfit just yet. These locations suggest Skirk is following a path mapped through forgotten histories, likely already foreseen by Vedrfolnir, with each site holding fragments of Conrian legacy, abyssal contamination, and the shattered timelines of Tevat. Her journey reflects a deeper tie between time, space, and memory, and may trace the ancient routes of celestial or abyssal descent. Notably, when Dainsleif encounters Skirk, he immediately recognizes her fighting style, confirming her apprenticeship under Surtalogi and Vedrfolnir's prophecy in Tevat. This subtle detail highlights how her combat technique is more than personal expression. It is a mark of her upbringing and a connection to abyssal mastery passed down by her mentor, and is already orchestrated by the Augur of the Abyss. Now this section leans into world building more than Skirk herself. I won't go into too much detail either, but it still takes time to explain, and it helps find the Abyss and Tevat's place in the Genshin universe. Tevat is actually not flat, despite what some in-game NPCs claim. Lore and visuals from Skirk's teaser and the Abyss suggest that Tevat is a continent on a spherical planet covered by a dome known as the False Sky, a structure that separates the world from true outer space. This dome likely acts as both a magical and physical barrier, shielding Tevat from the hostile universe beyond. From the outside, it might appear dark or reflective, hiding the world within and looking like the space it wanders. Some believe that the heavenly principles created it either to protect Tevat or imprison it. Now, based on an excellent visual breakdown by Cat with Blue Hat, this dome may only cover the continent of Tevat, not the entire planet. But I believe there may be another layer to this separation between Tevat and the rest of the world, which I'll explore in a separate video for now. Beyond this dome lies the Dark Sea, a vast ungoverned region where the laws of the Seven do not apply. These areas may be exposed to the raw cosmos and the real sky, which could explain the greater presence of the Abyss and why Celestia treats the Dark Sea and Conria as a forbidden frontier. The finale of the Deep Gallery's artifact lore suggests that Tevat is located at the edge of a spiral galaxy. This remote placement aligns with cosmic isolation, possibly intended to protect the planet from a larger galactic force or hide it from view, which is the Abyss. The Voyager's records mention observing many worlds destined to fall, civilizations marked by inevitable collapse, either by their own hands, cosmic intervention, or the Abyss itself. Tevat, it seems, was one of these doomed planets, and yet despite the odds, it continues to survive, if only barely. The presence of the dome, the Abyss, and the intervention of Descenders may have stalled its collapse, preserving Tevat in a suspended state or stasis between life and death. This makes A's concept of eternity not as far as you think it is. This precarious balance may be why beings like the Sinners, the Travelers, and the Archons, and now Skirk now play a pivotal roles in determining whether Tevat succumbs to its fate or rewrites it entirely. In Skirk's teaser, the universe outside of Tevat's dome glows a deep red. And that's not just some anime effect. In real astronomy, and this is where we get very technical, this kind of red glow happens when hydrogen gas gets ionized which means it's been hit by intense energy, usually from nearby stars or galaxies. You see this kind of red glow in real places like the Orion Nebula, a giant space cloud where stars are being born. The same red light can also come from something much scarier, which is the swirling energy around a massive black hole, which is called the active galactic nucleus. So the red space you see in Genshin might be showing us that Tevat is next to something big, hot, and dangerous, not just for aesthetic or lore fluff, but as a real clue about the cosmic danger in the universe. Basically, that red glow you see in the sky, it's not just there to look cool or terrifying, it's actually from space clouds of glowing hydrogen gas or from the energy thrown off by a black hole that is eating space. What we see as warm and stable could really be a deadly space phenomenon, so when Tevat is shown under a red sky, it might mean it's nearing something incredibly dangerous, like a black hole or a star that's about to die. And the fake sky dome, it could be Tevat's only protection, keeping that destructive force from tearing the world apart. Now, my little world-building theory proposes that Tevat exists within a protected cosmic region, possibly inside or adjacent to a supermassive black hole that's actively pulling in gas, dust, and stars, and is surrounded by a whirlpool emitting red light. The visual impression of a crimson sun may in fact be the radiation from a black hole surrounding disk, which makes it look like a sun, but it's actually a black hole. This explains Skirk's eyes looking like that, and she might have gotten so close to see the black hole itself. This red space, seen in Skirk's animation and in lore for Mawika's impact on the sky, could represent a broader galactic environment Tevat resides in, which is a black hole destined to eat Tevat. The false sky, a dome that encases Tevat, seems more like a containment shell designed to shield the world from the immense radiation, gravitational anomalies, and eldritch dangers of this outer red cosmos. Within this shell, Tevat remains habitable, but while the abyss may correspond to areas where the dome is thin, breached, or is entirely absent, exposing regions of the world to raw, unfiltered cosmic phenomena, which is why Conria has this red sky. In this theory, the abyss is not just a metaphysical threat, but a direct consequence of Tevat's proximity to a galaxy near collapse. And the black hole might just be the end that the Voyager speaks of in Skirk's artifact set. Thus, Tevat's outer space structure isn't just narrative fantasy, it might actually mirror a scientifically grounded space world that blends cosmic horror with celestial desperate protection. And there you go, that's everything you need to know about Skirk so far right before the 5.7 update. Now if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. What do you think Skirk's final role will be? Is she a future descender or something else entirely? And what do you guys think of this new cosmic lore that we're being thrown into? What I'm most interested in is not just who Skirk is, but what she was sent to find, the Voyager and the answers buried in a collapsing world. Now if you've made it this far, you're probably just as deep into the lore spiral as I am. So for now, I'll see you guys in the next video where we dive into Genshin's possible Skirk lore next week as we play and see what kind of lore she has to give us. And of course, as I always say, stay mad, theorists. Bye!